The other Friday night, I saw Insidious with a friend. It was a creepy, effective movie that was highly reminiscent of Poltergeist, in a good way. I'd recommend it for everyone who enjoys classic haunted house films, although, as the trailer says, it's not the house that's haunted, it's your son. The spoilers start here, so fairly warned be ye, says I. The movie's first 30 minutes are the typical slow setup that any horror movie uses. The happy family unit, troubled in the past, is looking for a brighter tomorrow in their new home. 2.5 kids, the dad is the sole breadwinner, as mom's trying to write music. It's a happy but boring family. The usual something isn't right here feeling set in as soon as Dalton, aka Coma Kid, explores the attic. Stuff starts moving around and disappearing, all par for the course. This changes when Dalton is very suddenly in a coma, and the timeline jumps ahead about 3 months. He's left at home in the hospital bed when things start rearing up again. Weird noises from the baby monitor, the parents are fighting, etc. One of the most effective scares comes after the mother checks on the baby crying and sees a man behind the curtain. After about 30 seconds in the room, she notices him just when the audience does, although he's there the whole time. It's very creepy. After that, the stuff really starts flying. The mother's attacked in her room, doors are flung open, and it's getting scarier by the minute. Then, the family does something I've never seen before in a horror movie. They leave the haunted house. We're only about halfway through, and they have the common sense to pack up and go. Not that it helps, but at least they're trying. They move into a new home, and the crazy crap is still happening, now with full-on child ghosts and visions. The father's mother, who's hanging around now at this point, reports a dream she had where a creepy entity stood over Coma Kid wanting him. She then gives the parents the name of an expert she happens to know. By the way, obvious plot point is obvious by now. The dad's past has something to do with this lady and the creepy things going on in the movie. But we'll get to that again later. 2 Geek Squad dropouts come to provide help and comic relief. One of them is actually the writer of this picture, and he's a fairly decent actor. They see crazy stuff themselves and call him a Tangina Baron. She reveals that Coma Kid isn't in a coma and the house isn't haunted. It's actually infested with demonic forces and ghosts who want Coma Kid's body because his soul is astral projecting somewhere called the Further, aka Limbo. Several drawings in the kid's room convince the skeptical dad that she's telling the truth, and he consents to let her try a seance. Granted, this is a bit of a silly detour in the film's plot, but they more than pay off for it. You just have to give up a leap of faith and go with it. After donning a World War II gas mask, again a little silly, but believe me, it pays off, Tangina goes into full-on seance mode with the Geek Squad in tow. Coma Kid tells Tangina that he's trapped, and if they keep talking, he'll hear them. The kid gets full-on possessed at this point, begins injuring parents and throwing people about the room with ungodly strength, and then promptly goes back into his coma after Tangina casts the ghost out. Finally, the main murky plot point is revealed. Coma Kid's dad was a gifted astral traveler himself that was almost possessed by a creepy old lady ghost. His mom knew because she took photos of him where the ghost got progressively clearer and closer to him. Tangina and the mom conspired to make him forget this talent, thus keeping him safe. However, his son has inherited it, so it's all up to him to save his son. The dad agrees to be hypnotized and travels into the Further, all the while seeing very chilling specters, and winding up following the Coma Kid's drawings to the kid's current location. He's being held in a dungeon by a demon listening to
Tiptoe through the window, by the window, that is where I'll be. Come tiptoe through the tulips with me.
As dumb as it sounds, it's utterly effective and chilling, especially given that we've heard this song earlier when the new house was being haunted by the little boy ghost there. The dad rescues Coma Kid, who seems none the worse for the wear from being in the Further for 3 months at this point, but the demon sees them and they're chased back to the house by every friggin' specter in the flick so far, all of whom are entirely terrifying. It makes for a great sequence. Once they get back to the Further version of the house, Coma Kid is sent ahead to his body, while the dad confronts the old lady ghost yelling, "I'm not afraid of you anymore." She fades away, both wake up, and the house is pronounced clean. Or is it? Tangina takes a photo of the dad after figuring out something's amiss, who totally then loses his shit and strangles her. The mom, kid, and mother-in-law in the next room hear nothing. The wife eventually senses something's amiss, though, and calls out for her husband. Creepy shit begins happening once again as she gets to the living room, a la the end of Poltergeist when the dad left. At which point she picks up the camera and sees the old lady completely superimposed over her husband's body. The dad old lady then grabs her shoulder and says, "I'm right here." Cut to the title in loud clashing music. After the credits, we see the old lady blow out the candle she's been holding throughout the film. Symbolism! For having a slightly silly explanations and a couple moments that are more laughable than funny, the movie still pays off beautifully with a scary finale and great scares and visuals throughout. The demon's one of the most well-crafted characters I've seen in a long time, face painted to look like Darth Maul aside. You really don't notice it during the actual film. I give the entire thing a solid 8, which, as most of you know, for original horror movies these days is like getting an A+. Until next time, I'm Rebecca, and I'm reviewing it.